on vulnerable populations, African American community, African people all over the world. The show that educates to liberate. It's Black History Month. Welcome to the show again, everybody. We are today's show going to have a special guest. We're going to be talking about human relationships. We're going to be talking about family issues and human relationships in the Black community, in the African American community. One of the elements of what it means to be human is to have relationships, right? Human communications is inevitable. We communicate, we relate to each other. To be human, actually, is to relate, to communicate. We have a communication expert today. We do have a therapist. Dr. Erica Wilson is a professor and the program director for the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. Dr. Wilkinson has published materials in all arenas of family and couple therapy. She does research and explores the ways in which the residuals of slavery affect African American individuals, couples, and families, and implications for clinical practice. She's currently an invited member of the UNESCO task force focused on healing the wounds of slavery in African American families. Dr. Wilkins, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Ekman-Mecca. Good afternoon. It is so great to be here with you. It's been a while since we've talked, so it's an honor.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us with your very, very, very busy program here, schedules. Start us off by talking to us about how is the African American family doing amid the COVID-19 pandemic?
Ooh, well, you know, if we think about how the pandemic is affecting everyone the world over, and the adage has been talked about for the last year or so that when everyone else catches a cold, the Black community catches the flu. And that has certainly been the experience for African American families. COVID has just affected us in a number of different ways that is not unsurprising considering health disparities that existed long before we even knew what COVID-19 was. And so the same health disparities that mean that our folks die at a disproportionately higher level than other communities, those same health disparities are resulting in similar statistics for us in the midst of COVID-19. And so it's been, gosh, are we going on a year now? It has been a difficult year for our community. But in the midst of that difficulty, I think it's necessary to amplify our resilience that we have displayed since, you know, throughout the ages. And so that same resilience that our ancestors, that was apparent in our ancestors, is still holding us up today. And so that is something that I have thought about throughout this pandemic. Many members of my family died of the flu, the influenza of 1918. And when I think about those deaths, I say, okay, it's a testament to my ancestors for me to do everything possible to keep myself and my loved ones safe. And so I hope that your listeners keep in mind that, you know, yes, times are difficult, but that we, through our DNA, is threaded undeniable resilience and strength.
If you just joined us, this is the Dr. Emeka Show. We're having a conversation with one of America's great family therapists. She's also the director of the Masters of Couple and Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University. Her name is Dr. Erica Wilkins. She is licensed family therapist and has been in the business of family therapy for many, many years. I can't tell you the number of years. Our number here is, by the way, is 215-634-8065 if you want to have a conversation with her. Again, our number here is 215-634-8065. Dr. Wilkins, so Black families have been coping all along. Well, I've got 3 calls already before. Because of time restraints, I'm just going to go straight to the callers here. We're going to go to Reverend Joe Williams. Reverend Joe is the minister par excellence in the Black community in Philadelphia for 35, 40 years. Reverend Joe, what question or comment do you have for Dr. Wilkins?
Good afternoon, Dr. Wilkinson. I'd like to respect you, Dr.
Good afternoon.
My comment would be, during the crisis, now I lost my sister and niece to the coronavirus last November. So I know what you're talking about. But I think it's very important in the black family to have a relationship. My wife and I will be married 60 years this coming June.
Oh, wow.
So many couples in the black community, they don't have a relationship. They compete against each other. So when a crisis comes, you don't have nobody to really be concerned with you for real, because all along you didn't have a partner. You were competing with somebody. There's more jealousy that I'm better than you stuff. Let's say it. So this is, at a time like this, we really need solid relationship to cope.
Reverend Joe, thanks for your time. Solid relationships. Dr. Wilkins?
Yes, I absolutely agree with the Reverend, and I want to offer my sincere condolences to his loss. I agree with him, and what I would add to that is that regardless of ethnicity, regardless of race, that folks that were having relationship struggles going into the pandemic, the pandemic exacerbated their relationship troubles. And so I want to make sure, because a lot of times when black love and black relationships are talked about, it's a lot of stones can be cast at our black couples. And I stand on the truth that our couples are not plagued by any more relationship difficulties than any other race or ethnicity. And so, similar to every other race and ethnicity, that if you were struggling before the pandemic, then it got worse during the pandemic. That's worldwide across the board. That being said, I have witnessed just amazing ways that couples have grown even closer during the pandemic. You know, this has been one of those times where it's a sink or swim time almost for relationships. And so folks realizing how strong their relationships are, in spite of, at a time where it would feel like everything could possibly tear them apart, that they've grown even closer. That there are absolute examples of that throughout our community. And so I agree with the Reverend in terms of folks joining together and investing in their relationship. But I just want to add a pin to that to say we have a lot of good things going on.
We are talking with Dr. Wilkins, Dr. Erica Wilkins. She is the program director of the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University, and her areas of expertise in research has to do with the residuals of slavery and the effect on African-American individuals, couples, and families. We got a call from Massachusetts, Dr. Wilkins, and his name is Joseph. Joseph from Massachusetts, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mecca and Dr. Wilson. Yeah, I'm an evolutionist. I don't believe in God. So let's look at it from an evolutionary point of view. The human being is a social creature, but evolutionary, there is people who could stride all by themselves. I call myself a semi-wolf. I was always like that. In today's world, we live in backstabbers and untrustworthy people. Me being an atheist, I stay away from my family because I realize there's powerful forces in the universe, not in the sky, but on earth, that's using religion as a tool to get people to go along with their program, like jumping off a cliff if they choose to. So I decided to go it alone. I always had that lonely feeling.
Listen, what's your question?
I'm getting there, Dr. Mecca.
Okay.
With relationship untrustworthy, and I got my dating days, I'll tell women we're the victim of the system. The people make us where we go against each other. What do you think about what it would be to bring black men and black women together? Like Daniel Patrick Moynihan said in the 60s, the biggest problem in the black community is out of wedlock birth, which was 25%. But today it's 72%. What can we do to make relationship better for black men and black women? Hang up and listen.
That's a very good question, Joseph. Thank you so much, calling all the way from Massachusetts. Dr. Wilkins, this is your expertise, so teach us.
And so, it's funny. I remember Joseph from the last time that I was
All
with
right.
you. And
Okay.
so
Sure.
I'm a WURD listener, so I'm very familiar with Joseph. Dr. Emeka, I want to make sure that I'm understanding his question correctly. It was, what are strategies that Black relationships can use to grow stronger?
Right. Essentially, I think he's talking about what he believes that the Black family, the Black relationships is at its lowest ebb, so to say. And it's gotten worse with what he termed out of wedlock children. And what can we do, or do you think should be done to arrest or at least take care of the situation?
So, there's a lot of mythology out here about our families and about our relationships. Mm-hmm. And as I prepared to talk with you today, sure, I was really happy, and I encourage your listeners to look up the work of two scholars, Ivory Tolson from Howard University and Bryant Marks from Morehouse. So these are two Black scholars.
Yes,
that,
I'm familiar with them, right.
Yes, that did research focused on breaking myths about our families. The idea that, gosh, our relationships, our community is plagued by single-parent households, and that, Black women aren't getting married. And, the reality is that 75% of Black women marry before the age of 35. You know that, Dr. Emeka? They're not talking about that widely.
Right.
The usual statistics that's talked about is that 42% of Black women will never get married, but that's skewed per Tolson and Marks. That's skewed because when they look at the sample, they're factoring in everybody who's 18 years and older. And so when you change the age and say perhaps 20 and older, 23 and older, then we start looking like every other community in terms of marriage. And so in response to that question, I want to be real careful because there's been too much pathologizing of our families and our communities with false data and myths. And so in answering that question, I want to make sure that I underscore it with the reality that Black folks are no more fragmented, are no less connected than any other group on this planet. That marriage rates among African Americans are down, but it's down among all other ethnicities as well.
And Senator Moynihan in the 70s actually sort of brought a whole issue about this in his treatise about the African American family in the 70s and the 80s. We're having a conversation with Dr. Erica Wilkins. She is the program director for the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her research explores the ways in which the residuals of slavery affect African American individuals, couples, and families, and the implications for clinical practice. She's worked with the UNESCO, United Nations Educational Fund. We have a call. We do have a call from Tyrone. Tyrone from North Philadelphia. Welcome to the show.
Dr. Emeka.
Yes, sir.
Blessings to you, good brother, and to your guest. How are you today?
Sister Wilkins is doing very well. You can hear her voice. She sounds very excited to be in our program, which is a blessing.
and much love and respect to my WURD family. Dr. Emeka, Dr. Wilkins, my question to you is, what can we do to get the judicial system, particularly the family court, to be more supportive in terms of trying to keep Black families together instead of, tearing it apart? Because it just seems as though the Black man do not get a fair shake when they go into family courts and the various courts when they deal with relationships. So what can we do about that?
Well, Dr. Wilkins, you hear I said it's true, because I'm also, educated in the legal arena, and I think you would agree with me that that's true, that the Black man does not get a fair share of treatment in the court system, family court system. Would you agree with me, Dr. Wilkins?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Oh, wow. I won a whole lottery today. Okay, so the question from...
I want to be clear, though. black people
Yeah,
don't get
but
a
black
fair
men
shake in the
particularly
judicial
though, because I know
system.
I know what's going. Listen, it's black people generally speaking. Absolutely, I mean, so many, but black men particularly. Why is that?
So now, remember, I'm a family therapist, which means
I
I'm
know.
a systemic
Of course.
thinker.
Sure.
Okay? And so I'm not going to answer the question in a way that's unilateral and just looking at one aspect.
Yeah.
I always consider all aspects.
That's
and
right.
So
okay.
if men are punished more greatly in the judicial system, that has a reverberating effect. And so it's not just if you know, in my line of work, we say even if we're working with one person in the therapy room, we're actually working with the whole family, even if nobody other than that one person shows up. Same thing in the justice system. And so if you throw larger consequences at black men or any other person in the family, that reverberates to the woman, to the children, through generations. And so I think that we need to think about this from a systemic perspective really think about, okay, so what's the motive? And then in terms of the solution, we need to be looking at the solution from a systemic perspective as well. That there, you know, this idea of appealing to the conscience of the judicial system is just, you know, I don't think that that's the answer. I think the answer is for us to say, as a people, how can we garner more political power? How do we start to play a larger role, to have more of a say in terms of what occurs? But I want to be real clear in terms of, you know, that this is not about black men have it worse than black women and so on and so forth, and really say that the same system that has always been in place to make sure that the myth of black inferiority is perpetuated shows up in different ways for our community, and it affects all of us at the same time.
You are listening to the... I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tyrone. Pose that some more questions for me, please.
But my question I'm asking, is there anything that we can do to make the court more amenable in terms of supporting, you know, black families staying together than tearing it apart? That's the question.
Yeah, I love that question. And do we have time for me to answer it, Dr. Emeka?
Yes, please, because that's a systemic. It has to go to the systemic issue that you're talking about.
Yes,
Thank you, Tyrone, for your call. Tyrone was my student some 25 years ago.
Hey.
He was very. Gave me a lot of trouble in classroom. But anyway, so what is the systemic situation with the black families? How to keep black families together as opposed to tearing them apart? Your wisdom.
It's complex because who are the judges? And who makes the laws? And, you know what I mean? We need to be thinking about how do we start to put ourselves in those different positions to be able to influence who the judges are, the decisions that are made, because, you know, the judicial system, they have power. They have power to be able to say, are we going to take an approach that's more punitive or an approach that's therapeutic? And we all know, I hope, that when it comes to black folks showing up in the judicial system, since we were brought over here, then the rules of play has been for the outcomes to be more punitive towards us than therapeutic. They've never cared about offering us support or rehabilitation. And so we have to care enough about our community to get out the vote. We have to care enough about our community to invest in how can we start to strategically position people to become judges and lawmakers. We need to possibly be studying what Stacey Adams did down in Atlanta, right? Because I think that is a master class in starting to say, how do we start to be strategic about having different folks in the system, all the power players, show up in such a way that works for our benefit as opposed to our detriment. And so I think that it's overly simplistic to think that we could merely appeal to the conscience of the judicial system. I think that we have to get in there and change the entire judicial system and say, you know what, this country is standing on our shoulders. and so the country should be working for our benefit. But that's radical. That's, you know, the means to do that is going to have to be radical, Dr. Emeka, and not just one avenue of a solution.
Interesting. Dr. Wilkins is our guest today. She is an expert on family therapy. She is also the director of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University. Her research is on residuals of slavery. Dr. Wilkins, can we take a short break, less than a minute break, and we'll be right back.
Okay, Her's new fire potato chips and cheese curls, they are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet, hold on. Whew, but you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Her's Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew, taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Her's.
Tune in this Saturday at 3 p.m. for the We Dream About Real Estate and More show with Hakeem Singleton and Matt King, where you will learn how to buy a house responsibly, travel on a budget, and look good while doing it.
I went to check on Pop today. We put our hands up to the glass as if we were touching. But really, the only touching part was that we both tried to smile.
That's no way to say hello or goodbye. COVID-19 vaccines are here, but until enough of us are vaccinated, we'll all still need to help slow the spread. Keep a 6-foot distance, wear a mask, and avoid indoor social gatherings. Learn more about vaccines and slowing the spread at cdc.gov/coronavirus. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Words from our past. WURD Radio celebrates the powerful voices of Black history. Reverend Dr. Leon H. Sullivan.
If there is anything in earth that makes man akin to God, it is his power to believe. For things are to us what they are on the basis of what we believe them to be, whether they be true or whether they be false. If, for example, you believe that a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points, then for you this is true in spite of the fact that there is no such thing as a straight line in a crooked world.
Words from our past, exclusively on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. This episode brought to you by Comcast. You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
And we are back. It's the Dr. Emeka Show. If it's 1 o'clock, if it is Saturday, God willing, I'm here, and we're having a conversation about critical issues that impact on vulnerable populations. On today's edition of the show, it's Black History Month. So we're talking about Black issues and Black empowerment and Black, this is what Dr. Wilkins is talking to us about today. And but our number here is 215-634-8065. Give us a call here if you have any questions or comments. Dr. Wilkins is here. She's an expert. 215-634-8065. We have a call from Madeline. Madeline lives in Overbrook, and she's also radio host. Miss Madeline, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for coming, for being back. You were out for a little bit, and I missed you those times very much. Let me say to the good doctor there, I am so pleased to hear you, because this has been my goal forever, is once I found out that those slave ships, when they put people on one person from each village, so people didn't have nobody they could talk to, et cetera, et cetera. And then I understand they got us on shore, and then before they even got here, they had to put a whole bunch of garbage in our heads, so a lot of us decided we were going overboard. We were not coming, and they did that. But then they got here, and they started, you can't trust each other, that we're animals, and because we're not whole people, and blah, blah, blah. Crap, lies. And we still live by that almost, to the point you have Black people who never tell their mate how much they love them, how important they are, learn to be affectionate with them, because nobody did it to them. If nobody gave you affection and told you how much they loved you, and it goes generation to generation. And once I started learning that was a major thing, and I didn't know it till coming out to work for other people and seeing how they're treating their children. I brought it back home, and I know when I had my Rodney, my mother-in-law came in and she said, I was sitting there running my fingers through his hair, singing to him and talking to him, and she said, "You can't do that." "What do you mean I can't do that?" She said, "You'll have that. God will take that baby from you. You can't treat him better than God. What does God have to do with this? He gave us this child. This is a part of us. We love him." I know I didn't get it, and I thought that somebody sometimes ought to say, "Darling, I love you," or something, but nobody ever said anything. And it wound up, I was like 65 when my mother said it. But I started saying it to her when I was 20 because I found out about it. I'm going to say it. And I think it's a good thing. So if our children don't feel that they have no value, no worth, nobody loves them, is that why they can go around now when shooting up people now, dismembering bodies, setting people on fire in the park? I mean, there has to be a way. Tell us something that we can do in the family. I say to them, tell your children morning, noon, and night how much you love them, how important they are. Hug them, kiss them. And then of course, there is the thing of teaching them manners. And we can get along with other people. We don't need to be mad and fighting all the time. Help me out. I'm only 87. I don't know. The Lord might give me another 10, 13 years. If he do, I'll be 100. I'm going to still be doing the same thing because this is my job. Please help me out.
Madeline, you are a blessing. I just love hearing your words of wisdom, and so I'm appreciative of what you just gave us. And actually, the answer that you're looking for, you gave an example of it, because generational trauma is real. Generational trauma affects many of us, if not all of us, who are descendants of formerly enslaved Africans. But in your story, Madeline, you talked about in spite of, despite the fact that you didn't get the type of love that you wanted, the type of nurturing that you wanted, that you were able to give that out. And there are many stories of us, you know, this is what they don't talk about, is the fact that we're still here as a people is a testimony to our in spite of story. That the fact that we're still here shows our ability, and I see this all the time in my practice. Folks that shouldn't be able to be in healthy relationships based on what they received reach past what would seem impossible and are able to nurture and to be in healthy, secure relationships. And so, yes, similar to every other community, our community has its ills. You know, yes, black-on-black crime exists, but guess what? White folks that live in proximity to other white folks also kill white folks. So white-on-white crime is a thing. And so, you know, they don't talk about that story, right? There's a way in which the story of black folks is talked about as if, you know, we're killing each other and we're broken and there's so many ills plaguing us. But I encourage everybody to start wrestling with well, if all of that was true, if we were really as broken as status quo would want us to believe, how is it that we're still here? And my argument is that we're still here because we are a massive story of people that are survivors and have been able to reach into themselves and give to others, to give to generations things that, based on our generational story, we shouldn't be able to give to others.
Madeline, thanks for your call. Madeline Dunn. She's 87 years old. She's the grandmother, great-grandmother.
So glad to have you back, Doctor. I'm back. Then I got you at 1 o'clock. Now I know what time. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. We appreciate this. We appreciate the wisdom all the time. As I say back home in my continent, the older you get, the wiser you're supposed to be. And you are one of those great wise women here in Philadelphia. Thank you. We are having a conversation with Dr. Wilkins. She is an accomplished family therapist. But only that, she is also the director of the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. Her research explores the ways in which the residuals of slavery affect African-American individuals, couples, and families. We're going to go straight to our next caller here, whose name is, let's see here. His name is, Rick hung up from Germany. But we're going to go straight to Francis. Francis is a caller from Colorado, the beautiful state of Colorado. Francis, welcome to the show.
Yes, good afternoon. I just have two comments to make. One, Miss Michelle Singletary, she writes for the Washington Post. She says Black Americans donate a higher share of their wealth than whites. And then the second point, it says, but most Black dads are not absent. Right? Just left in all in how our work first culture feels that families and business and how we can fix it. She goes on to say that although Black children are more likely to have unmarried parents, this doesn't mean they are fatherless. And then she goes further. She says even when Black fathers don't live with their children, they are more involved than white fathers in helping their children with homework, according to a study by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And among the Black fathers who do live with their children, a higher percentage of them bathe, dress, or diaper their kids compared with white dads, the study found. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting research you got out there, Dr. Kwarteng, from Francis from Colorado. Dr. Wilkins, is there a follow-up to this? Singletary is writing about the Black family.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that work myself personally, but if that didn't just prove everything I said a few moments ago, in terms of, there's all this research and literature out here talking about, wrist ringing and, how much is going wrong with our community. And I don't know who you have around you personally, Dr. Emeka, but who I have around me are so many beautiful examples of Black fatherhood, to the last caller's point, Black men in relationships, Black men and women in relationships, same-sex relationships that are thriving. And so, I just want there's so much more going right with our Black couples and Black love and families than there is wrong. So, why is there so much out there about what's going wrong with us?
Well, we can say the media is part of it, though. I mean, we can understand it's a negative perception of being Black. Sorry. We are having a conversation with Dr. Erica Wilkins. She's a professor. She's a professor and the program director for the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. Her principal research explores the ways in which the residuals of slavery affect African-American individuals, couples, and families. Thank you for your call, Francis, by the way. We're going to go straight to Rosalind. Rosalind lives in Kensington, part of Philadelphia. Rosalind, welcome to the show.
Yes, praise the Lord, your guest, too. I'm calling in reference to, I was always diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic, but I had a baby at a young age. She's 39 now. And I have two other sons. All my children were lost. All my ancestors, part of them didn't even get an education, but my mom and my aunts and all them. And coming up, we took care of each other, and they educated one another. The problem that I'm having today, getting back to violence going on in the streets, is that there's no love no more. And even when they gang war back in the day and the cops would take you on the other side, we would send a truck. Now, getting back to the home situation, everything starts at home. A lot of that stuff going on in the street is because it's going on in the house. Ain't no way. And I ain't gonna say the word I want to say, that it can keep going on, and the parents don't see nothing, and they ain't saying nothing. We took care of our villages, our neighborhoods, and everything. But getting back to me, I want to start something. If you've been without all this medication since COVID-19 started, and you got rid of your psychiatrist, you got rid of your therapist, you got rid of your doctors, because a lot of stuff is not going on. Is there any way, because I tried this one time, is there any way that we can sponge our name? When I asked about it to the therapist, he going to tell me, oh, Miss Allen, you can't do that. Why can't I? It's my story. It's my life. And for 2021, I'm learning to say no. My body. Good. And I just want to hear from the doctor. I'm not on no medication, no nothing. And really haven't been for years, because we didn't have all these doctors. We knew how to doctor ourselves, and now Dr. Paul, my doctor, but as far as having a therapist and psychiatrist, I've been all.
Okay.
I sent all of it and back around the horn again, and I'm still surviving.
Rosalind, thank you. And you're a survivor.
I love y'all.
And keep up the good work. Let's hear from the expert here, who obviously works with all kinds of populations. Bipolar diagnosis. I'm teaching this DSM-5 now, right, this semester. And I have some little difficulties using that text, which you use yourself, Dr. Wilkins. Talk to us about the DSM-5 medication prescription and in Black people.
Okay. Yeah. When I first became a therapist, I was anti-medication. I was anti-diagnosis. I felt like it was a tool of the oppressor. And over the years, that has changed. That has changed because I believe that it's necessary. If you are with a clinician who is a licensed, trained, trustworthy, that's important, clinician, then that person is able to say, okay, is able to assess and figure out your diagnosis and if medication is warranted. I was very much anti-medication in my early career. And then through the years, I saw folks that, they were losing their jobs, they were losing their families, and they came to me when, their lives, for lack of a better word, was burning down because of their mental illness. And so I said, it's not just for me to question the tools and medication that's out there when needed. And yes, overprescribing of our people and in American culture, that's a real thing, So I want to say that. But for the people that need it, for the people who could really benefit to be able to live the lives that they want to live and flourish in their lifestyle, if the only way to do that is to get them the appropriate diagnosis and medication, I have across the board found in those rare cases, because it is rare among my clients, I'm not a prescriber type of therapist. It is in the few cases that I refer clients to go seek psychiatric help for medication, they talk about it being a relieving experience. That like, oh gosh, finally there's a name for what I'm experiencing. And wait, there's medication that actually could help. Now, I don't believe, that just taking medication for any reason is appropriate. But research shows that the best way to get people off medication is to couple psychotropic medication with talk therapy.
And psychotherapy,
that's
right.
the quickest way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dr. Wilkins is our guest today. She is talking about Black family, residuals of enslavement on the Black psyche. She is the director of the Masters of Couple and Family Therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. She is a prolific writer, and she's also a member of the UNESCO task force focused on healing the wounds of slavery. Our number here is 215-634-8065. Again, our toll-free number, we don't have a toll-free number. Our regular number is 215-634-8065. Give us a call if you have any questions or comments. Give us a call right here. Dr. Wilkins, you talked a few minutes ago about solid Black love. Was it either you or the Reverend Joe? How would you define Black love?
Gosh, when I think about Black love, I think about liberation. I think about strength, survival. That the stronger our Black love is, then the stronger that our families and communities are.
Dr. Wilkins, I'm sorry, if you don't mind, I'm going to interrupt you a little bit. I'm being given the signal that I must go on a short break. When we come back, you talk some more about this Black love situation. We'll be right back.
Olaniyan Adefume, author of the Book of Questions, needs your help. He is seeking out responses for an updated version of the Book of Questions Series 2. The topics of the book cover issues of religion, race, sex, economics, politics, and health. One example would be, what do you think of the Capitol riot of January 6, 2021? For more information, reach out to him directly at 215-678-3830 or email him at oadefumi@yahoo.com.
Tune in to More Than That with Gia Peppers live this Sunday, February 21st at 1 p.m. on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM, or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode of More Than That is sponsored by General Motors, who is committed to becoming the most inclusive company in the world. Everybody in.
WURD Radio is proud to broadcast Monday, February 22nd at noon, the 6th annual Jefferson Salutes Martin Luther King Jr.'s Vision, featuring Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, who will be discussing his most recent book, Tears We Cannot Stop. Tune in February 22nd at noon for this amazing discussion, brought to you by Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health.
Tune in on Thursday, February 25th at 7 p.m. as New Voices for Reproductive Justice host Black Women, Green Future, Environmental Justice and the New Political Landscape in partnership with WURD. Tune in Thursday, February 25th at 7 p.m. See you then.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy. Intimacy and truth during pandemic times. The 4 kinds of love: sex, eros, philia, agape. The 3 ways to say I love you: information, intimacy, behavior. Information, intimacy, behavior. Remember, this is a pandemic time for the world. It's time to gather around and be truthful and real and honest and joyful. Hold hands and smile, for goodness sake. Don't forget the children, the teenagers, the older generations. Music and dance time is any time, even if you hum or do the electric slide. Blessed assurance. I sing because I'm happy, Sam Cooke. Shake, or the Jackson 5. I gotta be starting something. Yes, dancing is allowed during pandemic times. Oh, happy day.
You're listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent Black media.
And we're back. It's the Dr. Emeka Show. 1 o'clock Saturday, I'm here, God willing. We're having a conversation with experts like Dr. Wilkins, who is not only a accomplished family therapist, she's also the program director for the Masters of Couple Family Therapy program at Jefferson University. She's written a lot and researched a lot, and we are glad and excited and privileged to have her as our guest today. Dr. Wilkins, I have so many calls here, so I'm going to go straight to the calls in the interest of time, if you don't mind. And that's the next caller here is Olaniyan. Olaniyan calls us from Nicetown. Olaniyan, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so glad that you have the doctors on the phone on the radio station. I was doing something else, and I wasn't really paying attention to the words I heard. But then someone stepped into the area of mental health, and I see medication brings up much. I was hit by a truck, and many wanted to pick up more medication.
Sorry to hear that.
And wonder why are so many Black people described as being disabled? Did God make us disabled, or did racism do that too? I'd like to know what your response to that is.
Dr. Wilkins, did you get his question, Olaniyan's question?
Yes, and I just want to be clear that I don't know any statistics that talks about the ways in which Black folks are talked about as being disabled. I will say, just through my own experience, that there is a myth of Black inferiority. And that shows up in many spaces and places in our lives, whether it's in the educational system with our children, whether it's when we seek health care, whether it's in terms of our loving relationships. And so, in terms of our folks being pathologized, that's nothing new. But I don't have any statistics that talks about Black folks being seen as disabled. And what I really want to say is that because of that myth of Black inferiority, there's far too much of our people not seeking help when they need it because the folks who are supposed to be helpers may not be trustworthy.
I see.
So that's why I said in the last segment that it's important to get somebody who's trained, licensed, and is trustworthy to seek help from, because far too often I'm working with somebody who's in adulthood that's been challenged with mental illness all their lives, but their families have been skeptical about the healthcare system and haven't got them to the appropriate place to get them the relief that I talked about a few moments ago that they deserve.
Right. I see.
Can I respond to something?
Yeah, quickly, because there are so many calls. Go ahead, Elania, quickly.
Not do it real quickly. I'm not saying I agree with her or I disagree with her. I mainly agree with the doctor. But I know when I was put into a shelter because I was having bad problems, or whatever, I was sent to a man, a Black man, who was giving me all the benefits that you can get if you just say you're disabled.
Yeah.
I said no. Interesting. Well,
thanks for your call, Lania. Appreciate it. We're going to go straight to Gary. Gary from Germantown. Gary on line 2. Welcome to the show.
Yes. I was interested in getting some therapy, and I was wondering if Dr. Wilkins had anybody that she can suggest or that she can forward.
I see. Dr. Wilkins, is this something you can do over the radio, or you want to give me the number and I can transfer it to Gary?
So, Gary, I'm assuming that you identify as a man and you're a Black man?
Gary, are you a Black man? I think Gary's gone. He's dropped off the phone, I think.
I'm gonna make that assumption, but this resource will help, I think, anyone. There is a entity called Black Men Heal that I encourage listeners to take a look at on social media. And there's also a website called Therapy for Black Girls. And so through both of those resources that can be found by your listeners through social media, they should be able to route them to clinicians who should be able to be of assistance.
Dr. Wilkins, can you just mention that again? Black Men Heal, is that what you said?
Yes.
Black Men Heal.
Yes, and Therapy for Black Girls.
For Black girls.
Yes,
okay.
And that's for Black girls and women, so girls and women of all ages.
Okay, and that's in the website. Okay, we're going to look it up on Google. Gary, thanks for your call. Appreciate that. We're going to move on to the next caller here. Is Diane from South Philly on line 3. Diane, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dr. Mecca, and hi to your guest. I want to thank you so much for this wonderful show you are having today about love. And
Thank you.
I think that is so important. When I was growing up, my parents never told us that they love us, but they took good care of us. And I didn't realize they love us until I got grown, you know? But I never heard it. But when I had my children, I always tell my children I love them. Every day when I talk to them, I say I love you. And I'm a mentor. I mentor Black boys that have issues, you know, help them get jobs and everything. And I always tell them I love them. And it make them feel so good. And then they turn around and tell me I love you too. So when we see these young people, let them know that you love them. Because a lot of times they think that nobody don't love them. So I think those words are very, very, very strong.
Man, thanks for your call. Appreciate your comments. Dr. Wilkins?
That is a perfect testimony of what I've really tried to amplify today, is that our community, like all other communities, yes, we have our ills, but gosh, our community has so many stories like that folks who didn't get the love that or the expressions of love that the last caller talked about, that reach past our own experience and give what we didn't get. You know, there's the saying of you can't pour from an empty cup, but I have to say, so many of our people have been pouring from cups that people would think are empty. It's amazing. We're an amazing people.
Dr. Wilkins, Dr. Erica Wilkins is talking to us. She is an expert. This is a family therapist for many, many, many years. She's also the director of the Couple and Family Therapy Program at Thomas Jefferson University in Philadelphia. She's with us today to explore and talk to us about her expertise, her experiences working as a family therapist and also director of a family therapy program at Jefferson University. Want to give us a call here? Our number is 215-634-8065. 215-634-8065 is our number here. So, we got Woody. Woody is a well-known barber in Philadelphia. He's an institution himself. So, Woody, I'm sure you have a comment or a question for Dr. Wilkins.
Oh, I'm just enjoying this program, and I just want to thank her. I definitely want to get her information. We have a barbershop here, and we talk about a lot of the things that are going on as it relates to this gun violence. And a lot of these young men, 499 are gone now from last year, and it's just added on. Guns don't kill, people do. It's the mindset, and many of these young men did not get the proper education in public schools, were pushed on, when you have diplomas as receipts for educational services never rendered. That makes someone feel inferior. And with that thought in mind, taking tests and things like that, trying to get a job, read, writing, and spelling, Philadelphia is 25% illiteracy here in this city. So I just want to know, what can we do with the system to be able to talk to the mayor? I think the mayor's going to be talking next month because someone went on a hunger strike and forced him to come and say something about these people that are being killed. So, Doctor, I'd like to get your information so if we can further talk. And please, Dr. Mecker, give her my number, 215-879-9935. I'd love to talk with you, Dr. Wilkins.
Okay, I appreciate that. Because we have 2 or 3 other callers here, I'm going to have all those individuals that give you the questions so you can answer in the lump show. If you don't mind, Dr. Wilkinson. We're going to go straight to our next caller here, who is Cole from Philadelphia. Cole, what's your question? May stress of time here.
Good afternoon, Professor Mecca. I want to thank Dr. Wilkins for her dedicated service to our community. Professor Mecca, I just want to let you know that the Delaware Valley Association of Black Psychologists on this coming Friday afternoon is going to be having a workshop on assessing and treating and managing black suicide risk. And we just want to invite all of your listeners who may be available to participate. And for professionals, we'll be offering 3 continuing education credits. And anyone who's interested can just call us at 267-282-1062. That's 267-282-1062.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Cole. I appreciate your call. That's great information, great opportunity. Our last call here will be Francis. Francis calls us again from Colorado. Francis, Dr. Francis Carter. Is that Francis?
Yeah, I just want to know how your guest features Dr. Joy DeGroy's post-traumatic slave syndrome to her work.
Joy DeGroy is somebody I recommended. She's coming to our school sometimes this March or April, actually, to give us a lecture. But let's get to the expert here, Dr. Wilkins. Your thoughts?
Yeah. I actually work on the UNESCO task force with Dr. DeGroy. So she's amazing. Dr. DeGroy's work, as well as Naeem Akbar's work, led me to my work, as well as Dr. Hardy, his work also. And so as a master's student, I was very interested in what these folks were saying. And then I, in my research, decided to carry it a step forward and to say, what can therapists do in the therapy room? And what type of training do therapists need to receive to help ameliorate the residual effects of slavery? And so that's kind of the added branch that I have in terms of this body of literature, is around, concretely, how can we as clinicians help people within the context of the therapy room?
Indeed. And I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Hardy some 28 years ago here at Temple University. He's at Drexel, I think. And I also had the opportunity to teach his daughter, who I can't mention his name for privacy issues. We have to wrap up, I'm being told. And I want to thank you again, Dr. Wilkins. You're such a great, powerful woman. We want to thank you for the gifts that you are to the community and the wonderful thing you do for our community. Thank you so much for being with us today.
What a joy. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Thank you for your good work.
And keep up the good work, ma'am. And we'll be in touch again. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
You've been listening to the voice of Dr. Wilkins, Erica Wilkins. She's a great family therapy. She's also the director of the family therapy program at Thomas Jefferson University. She is a great asset, a reward, a gift to us in our community and to any family all over the country or the continent, actually. That's it. We're done. We've been told now that does it for today. Until next week when we have another show, we're going to be talking about African and African retentions in memory, in music, in family structures. Next week, be with us. Until then, I want to thank Mike the boss who handles the production for today. And remember, if you see someone without compassion, please give him or her one of yours because it's the right thing to do. It's the African thing to do. It's the African American thing to do. I'll see you next week. Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye.